Hey guys, welcome back to Dan channel. Welcome back to Aussie's Play, and today we are watching Scary Stories Part 2. Sorry for the last video because the last video didn't have no sound, so sorry guys. But now we are gonna watch something scary. Uh,
Stop playing! Go study! Why? Then you can get an A pack. Then you will get a good job. And then you can buy a big house.
My name is Daniel. I'm 17 years old and I live in South Africa. This story takes place around 2 years ago. My best friend, I don't want to mention his name for privacy, and I always get up to a lot of mischief when we're together. The trouble we cause ranges from ding-dong ditching to public vandalism. There have been a few instances where we have been chased by the police. My point is that we cause trouble and have fun doing it. When my friend and I were about 15 years old, we went to my aunt's farm in the Karoo. She stayed in her house, which was actually very nice. But my friend and I camped outside in a tent one night when we were braaiing, which is the South African version of a barbecue. My aunt told us about a house on top of a large hill which was abandoned and supposedly haunted, and she showed us where it was. My friend and I looked at each other, and we both knew what we were going to do the next day. We were going to investigate this haunted house. The next morning, him and I grabbed our backpacks and packed the essentials for an adventure. A pocket knife, a torch, warm clothes, some snacks, etc.
hey guys.
We told my aunt that we were going to go for a bike ride, and she said, "Okay, just be safe and stay out of trouble. I don't want to hear any complaints from other people on the farm about your mischief." We assured her that we would behave. So we grabbed the bikes and our bags and off we went. It was a really hot day, so riding the bikes to the hill was exhausting. We were too tired to ride the bikes up the hill, so we left them at the bottom and walked up. Once we got to the top and had a clear view of the house, I felt nauseous and sat down for a while so I could rest. The house was very small, only 1 story tall. Eventually, I felt better and we walked to the front door of the house. To be honest, you wouldn't think it was abandoned. None of the windows were broken and it looked stable. We couldn't see inside though because the windows were boarded up from the inside of the house. We were really curious, so my friend and I did something very, very stupid. We threw rocks at the window so we could remove the boards and get inside. This hill was isolated, so we didn't think anyone would see us. And this house was also abandoned. So we also thought that no one would care. Once all the windows broke, we removed the boards by kicking and punching them down. And one by one, all the boards were down. I don't know why, but for some reason or other, we decided to break all the windows and take down all the boards instead of just one. It was probably just fun to break stuff as a dumb teenager. We crawled through one window, and since all of the boards were down and light came in, we could see everything very clearly. And the layout of the house was very simple. The living room was connected to the kitchen, and there was 1 bedroom in the kitchen, and there was 1 bedroom and 1 bathroom. What we also saw confused us. All of the cupboards and drawers were filled with utensils, plates, bowls, pans, books, paintings, etc.
Bruh.
Yet this place was supposed
I think so. There's someone living there, bruh.
to be abandoned. Once again, my friend and I made a dumb decision. we started throwing rocks at the cupboards and emptied all the drawers and broke plates. What I'm saying is that basically, we completely trashed the place. In one of the drawers, we found cool board games, books, and cards and stuff. Then we went into the one and only bedroom in the house and found a picture of a family in the one drawer. There was an old man, an old woman, a young boy, and a young girl who was in a light green dress. She had very long dark brown hair. The weird thing was that the young girl wasn't near everyone else. The old man and woman and the young boy stood together and were smiling, but the girl was off to the left and far back. We thought that was weird. We also saw that something was written on the back of the picture. My friend thought it would be funny if he tore the picture into pieces. This made me uncomfortable as I thought that the picture looked like it held emotional value to whoever owned it. That was my train of thought, but I decided to keep quiet because I didn't want to be a party pooper. So I just said, "Go for it, dude," and laughed. He went on, and as he started tearing the picture, we heard faint singing coming from outside. It was the voice of a girl. My friend and I both looked at each other and were both pretty weirded out. My friend told me to go to the front window and have a look. I was freaked out, so I didn't want to, but eventually my friend forced me. I slowly went towards the window and had a look. There was, in fact, someone outside, and they were singing. That was already weird, but what sent shivers down my spine was that the person singing was a young girl who was wearing a green dress. She had dark brown hair exactly like the girl in the picture. How can this girl, who was around 11 years ago, be here singing?
Let's film my video. Let's film my video. Oh man! Let's film my video. Let's film my video. Sorry guys, it's my camera. Wait, I'm gonna turn off. Oh my...
in front of me when there was a picture of her from 1977. I was frozen in fear. I snapped out of it when I heard my friend whisper to me, "Dude, what's going on? What do you see?" I turned around and crawled on all fours back to my friend, trying to be as quiet as possible. I told him what I saw, and at first he didn't believe me and said, "That ain't even funny, bro."
Sir, are you aware that your registration is expired? License and registration, please.
Nope, I was playing State of Survival in my car. This is my right to remain silent.
Okay, the State of Survival, right? Listen, I've got some elite heroes like Jane and Nanami, and I've killed 1 million zombies. And I have 1 million power. You still want to remain silent?
Only 1 million power?
No! What a brag. I built large structures with 3 legendary heroes, Lucky, Becca, and Luca. My power is 8 million. I suggest you obey the law, young man.
Listen, I have 6 legendary heroes, 300,000 snipers, and 500,000 armed soldiers. My battle power is 1 billion! Say what?
1 billion? How did you do that, buddy?
Let me give you a little secret tip. Rescue! I start off the game by exploring danger zones, rescuing heroes, and finding more supplies with their help. Then you can build more shelters to attract followers. And with more members under your flag, you can attack other players' shelters for more resources. Remember, this is a survival game.
I assured him that what I was saying was true, but he remained stubborn and said, "Take a picture and I'll believe you." I asked why he didn't look for himself, and he said he didn't want to because he was also kind of freaked out. I obliged and went back to the window. I took out my phone and opened the camera. As I was about to take the photo, she stopped, slowly turned around, and let out an insanely loud scream while pointing at me. And then she jumped backwards off the hill. I dropped my phone and ran back to my friend. I felt so nauseous that I vomited. My friend was asking, "Bro, what happened? What was that scream? Why are you vomiting?" It took me a while to get a hold of myself, and I told him what I saw, and to my surprise, he believed me. We stayed in that house for a long time, too scared to go outside in case that girl was still there. We sat there silently for about 2 hours until we heard a car drive up to the house. We heard the car door open and a loud male voice yell, "We know you two are in there. Get out before we come in." It was the cops. We didn't know what to do. We worked on a plan to get out of this mess, and we said that as the cops come through the front door, we run out the back window and go around the house and make a run down the hill. So we did. The cop kicked down the front door and we hopped out the back window. We sprinted around the left side of the house and made a beeline down the hill for our bikes. Once we got our bikes, we got away quite quickly because the cops turned off their car and had to restart it. On our way back to my aunt's house, we didn't talk once. Both of us were traumatized about the whole situation. Later that day, we talked to my aunt again about the house. She admitted that what she said about the house wasn't 100% true. Her original story was just to scare us. The house wasn't abandoned, but it just wasn't being used. She said that it was a holiday house that foreigners could rent out for their visits to South Africa. But no one used that house because everyone claimed it was haunted. It was indeed an old house that people used to own from a long time ago. An elderly couple lived there from roughly 1940 to 1977. She told us that in 1977, that elderly couple had their grandchildren stay there for a weekend. There was a young boy and young girl. The young girl had a mental illness, bipolar disorder. In reports, it is said that the girl murdered everyone in that house and then committed suicide by jumping off the hill. My friend and I stayed up all night talking about that day. We both realized that the girl we saw was the girl my aunt told us about. To this day, we have never told anyone about this story.
Oh my god, guys, bruh, that was so scary. Heck nah. Bro, stop. Okay. Oh my god, you stupid. Tortures.
I didn't have a great childhood. I'm not one to complain about it. My parents did the best they could, but we ended up living in some pretty terrible places with not so nice families. And then right around the time I started secondary school, the kids I was hanging out with at the time started smoking cigarettes. Yeah, they were like 11 or 12 and they were smoking. Not just taking performative puffs on sticks either, I mean full-on smoking like troopers. And being the divvy that I am, I joined them on more than one occasion, and they basically taught me to smoke out by this old World War II pillbox. Then one time, we all go out to the pillbox, and this kid gives us all a ciggy from the pack he'd stolen from his mom. I thought he was being a bit generous, but I wasn't one to complain. I just didn't think I could finish off a whole cigarette on my own, since just a few drags on one had me feeling pretty woozy the previous few times. But I figured, a few tokes, I can peg it out, smoke the rest of it later. The next thing that had me kind of suspicious was how weirdly loose the cigarette seemed, almost like it had been tampered with somehow. Now, I know, huge alarm bells are going off in the head of every right-minded person listening. But honestly, at like 11 years old, I couldn't even imagine what it might have been tampered with. I was really naive. I didn't know what hash or Mary were. I didn't know about anything other than ciggies and beers. So I'm looking at this ciggy, and then I look up at the lad who gave it to me, and I remember asking, have you done anything to this ciggy? He says no. I say okay, then light up and start puffing. Immediately I start coughing, but my friend reassures me that it's just the last one in the pack. I'll never forget that. He said it like it was totally normal to have one loose, scrabby ciggy in the pack, like it was tradition or something. So I tried a few more puffs, but started coughing again. So I gave up on trying to smoke it, tossed it away, then asked for some of my friends. I know something was definitely going on when he seemed annoyed that I'd thrown away my ciggy. And just when I was trying to work out what he might have done to it, I started feeling very, very funny indeed. Everything started to tingle. My eyes felt all puffy and my vision started to Ferris wheel, with each eye going in the opposite direction. I tried to talk, but words just wouldn't come out, and my tongue felt like it was swelling up in my mouth, and suddenly I just got so thirsty I could barely think about anything else. Then no matter how many deep breaths I took, I just couldn't seem to get enough air, and suddenly I found myself lying in the grass. Like I literally couldn't walk. I had no idea what was going on, and when I started begging my friends to help me, they looked terrified and just ran away like I was dying or something. I can't stress this enough. I really did think I was about to die, even when my dad rushed onto the scene to take me back home. My so-called friends had been decent enough to run and get them, but all they said is, "Pete's feeling sick," and Pete fell down. Just a vague idea of what was actually going on. So, my dad's scared and I'm so terrified I'm just in tears when he picks me up, goes to run off and stops. I remember how he sniffed my clothes and hair all studiously for a moment, and I almost started to get aggressive with him because I remember I was so frustrated that we stopped moving. It was a weird experience because I felt like I was in some strange euphoric dream state, and I really felt like if we stopped, I was going to get very angry. It was such a weird experience. And it was at that moment that he rushed me to the hospital. And it was the subsequent time that I spent in the ER that my parents found out and later revealed to me that the kid had actually dipped the cigarette in some sort of formaldehyde embalming fluid and essentially given me some form of PCP, which for those that don't know, in some instances can make someone act with schizophrenic-like side effects. My parents said the doctor said I was really lucky that I didn't continue to smoke, as it may have had even more serious side effects, even though, as time went on, I still felt very on edge in my time at the hospital and after the time I got out. My dad told me it freaked my mom out so much that all she wanted to know was how a kid my age had gotten his hands on that stuff, and I was forced to tell them about my friend, in which case the police visited his house, forcing his hand to reveal that he'd seen his younger uncle that lived with him using that stuff prior. I don't know what became of that kid and his family, as I'm not sure if my parents had continued to press charges or how everything with them actually transpired. But the whole thing had just been apparently one horrible prank in the kid's mind. And although I'm not entirely sure if it was out of malice or some spirit of experimentation, that little prank amounted to one of the scariest memories of my entire childhood. I grew up in this...
Okay guys, so I'm gonna stop the video here, so see you later. Peace out. And boy.